go. Okay, so I think we're ready to start. Okay, my name is Ed Clendenin. We're at the 2007 annual reunion of the 376th Bombardment Group, September 6, 2007. And state your name for the record.
My name is Andre Duval, and I was a participant in the 376. I was quite young at the time, 18.
Okay. Now, when and where were you born?
Oh, well, I was born in Pelham, Massachusetts, September 14th, 1925.
1925.
Yes.
You are a young one relative
Yes.
to the other one.
Yes. And I enlisted into the military, but in those days, had I not enlisted, I'd have been drafted
Anyway.
earlier than when I went in. I went into the service in February 1944. And, well, from there I went to basic training in Greensboro, North Carolina. From basic training to gunnery training. I was a gunner.
Gunner?
Is what
Okay.
my position was. And it turned out to be the ball turret gunner on the B-24.
Okay. Now so you went through basic and then the gunnery school.
Yes, and the gunnery school was Harlingen, Texas.
Harlingen, okay.
And this is all in 1944. All right. And then I went to crew training. You know, you eventually meet the crew that you're going to be assigned to.
Correct.
That crew meeting took place at Westover Field in Massachusetts.
So okay.
And we went from there to Charleston, South Carolina, to train as a crew, to fly and
So
become.
So you met your fellow enlisted men in Westover,
Yes,
Massachusetts, and then you.
and officers.
Oh, and the officers.
All
Okay.
10 men.
Okay.
So we went from Massachusetts into Charleston, South Carolina.
And who was the pilot of your crew?
Well,
That's okay.
we'll move on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay, that's okay. So you went down to Charleston, South Carolina, you trained as a crew.
Yes,
Okay.
and
This is still 1944.
oh yes,
Okay.
it's all. My whole career was 1944.
Okay.
Went in February. I got wounded in December '44
Okay.
and evacuated.
Okay.
So my career was there. I participated. Well, first of all, it was kind of an interesting. I was young,
Yes.
and to get to Europe, it was a nice trip over. We got a new airplane issued to us in Mitchell Field in New York on Long Island.
Yes.
That field does not exist today. It's now a shopping center. So we went from there with this new Ford-built B-24.
So your crew ferried a plane over.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And the route to get there, to get over there, was from Mitchell Field to Bangor, Maine. These are day hops.
Yes.
To Gander, Newfoundland, to the Azores. These were all, as I said, day hops.
Yes.
And from there to Marrakech in French Morocco. And from there, I don't remember the name of the city. We went to one that's near the Suez Canal and then hopped across the Mediterranean. Into Italy.
Now, when you left the United States, did you know you were going to Italy?
No?
No?
No.
So you might have been going to England.
Yeah,
Okay. When did you find out you were going to Italy?
after we left.
After you left? Okay.
So I was assigned to the 376th, again in 1944. I think it was in September
Okay.
of '44. And I did participate in 14 bombing missions. And the very first mission was a German troop concentration on a riverbank in Yugoslavia.
Okay,
And I was young. I kind of felt sorry for those Germans.
you felt sorry for them.
Yeah.
Okay, why was that?
Well,
They're sitting around having a smoke, sitting on a riverbank and
sure. There we are dropping
dropping
bombs.
bombs on them.
Yeah. That was my first mission. So I did kind of feel that way. I lost that feeling as time went on.
Okay. Did the other members of the crew feel the same way you did?
No.
No? It was just kind of you a little unique? Now, were you a tail gunner or a waist? Oh, that's right, you were a ball turret. then, so.
Yeah.
So could you look down and see the guy sitting?
No. I could look down, but I can't recognize a person.
Okay.
No. Our missions were flown typically at about 20,000 feet.
Oh, okay.
That's a long way up in those days,
Sure.
and cold.
And cold?
Yes. Okay. Now, there was, on missions, there was a special mission we, as a crew, volunteered for, just to get another mission in.
Uh-huh.
And that was to go to Salzburg as a night mission. And for night missions, you flew by yourself. And you used the clouds for defense.
Uh-huh.
Get into the clouds. Well,
Wow.
if you ride along and you look at the Alps, and the top of the Alps look like in front of you, like a cloud.
Cloud.
And you never get a cloud. But
I'd
we
say
didn't get clouds anyway.
You're the first person I met who'd been on one of these night missions.
Well,
So you were by yourself?
the
I mean,
airplane
the
was
airplane was by us.
single airplane.
Single airplane.
Yes, and the bomb load were incendiary bombs with whistles. Now
With
the
whistles.
now the target was the high-density residential district in Salzburg.
Civilian houses?
To
Okay.
harass the public, to get them to
Surrender?
surrender, talk about,
Encourage
gee,
them.
let's stop this nonsense.
Okay. So this was a night mission to
Night.
Salzburg.
And you go by yourself, one airplane, and you use the clouds for defense. But we didn't have clouds. We saw white-capped mountains.
Okay. And I assume you bombed Salzburg, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the date of this mission?
No,
Okay.
I could find out, but
That's okay.
It wouldn't be easy.
Did you get any extra credit for this?
No, well, got an extra mission.
But you got an extra mission, but I mean, they didn't give you double missions or whatever,
No,
double points.
no,
Okay. How many of those did you fly?
one.
Just the one?
Yeah, not many people did that.
Okay.
That wasn't a common thing.
Do you remember how many did the group?
Don't know how many.
Don't know?
No, not many.
By the way, did you tell us which squadron were you in?
14th.
14th.
514.
514th, okay.
Okay, now, on that mission, coming back near Trieste,
Okay.
that's on the north,
That's near the top of the Adriatic.
yeah, on
Yes.
the north corner.
Yes?
Well, there were fireworks there in the sky as we were coming by.
Flak?
Flak,
Or
yeah,
just
flak.
flak, okay.
It was dark,
Yes?
so we could see it. And, yeah.
Were they shooting at you or were they just
No,
shooting?
there might have been an airplane there.
Okay.
Don't know what they were shooting at. Wasn't
But you
us.
saw this in the distance?
Yes.
Yes?
But it wasn't long after that, it got to be a little nervy. A parachute with a flare hung out above us.
Uh-oh.
So it was a little scary.
So somebody might have alerted the anti-defense that there was this B-24 flying around?
Yep. Yes. So that was an unusual mission.
I'll say. Did you shoot, did the Germans set up night fighters or anything?
No.
after you?
I was never in the airplane attacked by a fighter,
Okay.
okay?
Now, I guess that late in the war, the German fighters were pretty much,
You know,
Gone?
fuel, September, October, November, December were my months,
yes,
44.
44, right.
Uh-huh. Okay. I'll tell you about one of my missions, which was for a bridge over a river in what was called the Brenner Pass. And
Okay,
that was in the Italy side of the Alps.
right,
So this is over Italy. And there on the bombing run with lots of flak, we got through okay.
uh-huh,
We were sent the very next day to the same target,
yes,
and I got hit in my foot. And
by flak,
yeah, by flak. And that kind of ended my missions. As soon as the pilot could break from the organized formation, he rushed home to bring me home.
uh-huh,
Home being the base.
base,
And there they shoot flares on above the airplane as they approach the airport.
uh-huh,
Really not an airport,
right, the
but
base,
the field strip. And that alerted people to come out with the ambulance, that there was a wounded man aboard. And the medics took me out of the airplane. And
sounds like a severe injury,
brought me to a field hospital.
uh-huh,
And I stayed there probably 4 or 5 days. They put a cast on my leg from my toes to my hip, but didn't cover my hip. So that was a long cast. And that stayed on for many months. So after several days, I went to a legitimate hospital from that field station,
uh-huh,
which was in Bari, Italy.
yeah,
And there I just sort of monitored time until I got scheduled to come back to the Skates. And the medical order was for bone graft and possible tendon graft. And I didn't eventually have either one. But that cast stayed on my leg.
uh-huh,
Now, what happened was that the fragment went through the first metatarsal on my left foot. And maybe there's a quarter of an inch to half an inch, and then ragged, missing in the bone, the first metatarsal. And the toe moved in a little ways and occupied that space. And for the few months I wore a cast, it knit and grew and needed no further work. And the tendon was okay, so it didn't need any tendon graft.
so I'm not a medical person, does that mean you have one toe that's shorter than the other?
A little shorter,
Okay.
yeah. Big toe,
It was the big toe, okay,
yeah. Now, before I hesitated on the pilot of this crew, 313 was the crew number,
uh-huh,
and his name was Roy Hattem, Hattem.
okay,
Okay, well, as I say, he kind of rushed me, or rushed the airplane back to the base. I was given covered by flak suits to keep me warm. And I didn't bleed very much because my foot froze, or the blood streams froze. You know, it's pretty cold up there.
so did you have frostbite of your foot?
Well, I think I did, but I didn't ever say that to the military medics. But I believe so,
Okay,
because I have sore feet.
so your fellow crew guys got you out of the turret?
I wasn't in the turret.
Oh, you weren't in the turret when this happened?
That's
No.
the first time I was not in the turret, and I didn't explain that to you, did I? I was I found that the turret was not operating properly,
Uh-huh,
where you can, in azimuth and elevation, move the guns. So I got out of the turret, and of course I reported that to the crew that I was out, and I then manned a waist gun.
okay.
So I was standing in the waist when this happened, and it felt as though someone had a sledgehammer and hit the floor of the airplane, and my foot then bounced way up.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's when the shell came through. Yeah.
So the shell ripped a hole in the fuselage?
Oh, we had many holes, yes.
Okay.
Well, it had to come through.
Oh, no, now, was any of the other crew members hurt in the same?
The co-pilot had a little glass fragment and
Uh-huh.
cut on his face.
But you were by far the most injured of the,
Oh, yes.
okay.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So how long were you in this cast then?
A long time.
Weeks? Months?
Months.
Months?
Boy, and did it smell.
Now, did they leave you over, I mean, that's not right. Were you in Italy this whole time? Or did they ship you back to the States?
I was shipped back to the States, but not overnight, you know, it takes time.
Sure.
And, yes. And I think before I left Italy, I may have gotten a new cast. They may have taken it off, put a new one on. And then I came home by boat.
By boat?
I flew over, came back by boat. And the ship was General Yates, and it was a merchant marine vessel used as a troop transport and outfitted for troop transport. And I came home in that one. Now,
So it wasn't a hospital ship?
no. But I was a litter patient, and I was laying on the pier in Naples, and I could hear, "Hey, Andy," somebody calling. So
Yes.
eventually, I could see someone wave up on the top of the ship.
Uh-huh.
Well, it was a guy I went to grade school with.
Guy you went to grade school with? Wow.
Yeah.
Was he also in an air crew? I mean,
No, he was a merchant marine, and he was a member of the crew of that ship.
oh, that was going to take you back? Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And his position on that ship was that of a cook.
Ah,
Okay, so I had ice cream.
so you had
Cake.
good meals, right?
I was catered to.
Catered to.
Now, I also traveled in what was called the sick bay of that ship,
Uh-huh.
which was a limited size
Right.
and catered to.
Uh-huh.
And sailed from Naples to New York City.
Okay. Now
That
what,
was, that was my return trip.
return trip. Now were the German U-boats, I mean, were you at all concerned that you might get torpedoed by a U-boat during the return?
I don't think I was concerned. But leaving Naples to come into the Atlantic, you know, you have to go down the Mediterranean,
Uh-huh. Through
go
Gibraltar.
go through the Strait of Gibraltar,
Right.
and right after we got out of the Strait of Gibraltar, the ship went through a readiness rehearsal
Uh-huh.
where they locked everything and said, no, you don't leave here, you stay put, and fired their guns. Well, you know, that's pretty noisy,
Yes.
and I didn't know what happened. Very noisy as they were firing their guns.
Did you know this was a drill, or did you think they might be in action?
I wasn't told it was a drill.
You weren't told it was a drill?
No,
So you
no.
thought maybe the Germans were shooting at you?
And, you know, we were pretty close, too, because we had just got out of the Strait of Gibraltar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that took place.
So now you landed in New York?
The boat took me into New York.
Did you put you into like a VA hospital then?
Yeah,
And how long were you in the hospital then?
well, That was out on Long Island,
Okay,
in Hempstead, Long Island. Probably not very long, maybe about a month.
and they're the ones who finally took you out of your cast?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah. And while there, a young lady who was my date before I went in the military came there to see me.
Uh-huh,
And the Red Cross put her up
uh-huh.
in the facility. And that was pretty good,
This young lady became your wife?
yes.
Okay.
Well,
Well, that was nice of her to come down and visit you. Had you been writing to her? Or, I mean, how did she know you were coming in? How did she know you were returning to the States?
telephone.
Telephone, okay. But you weren't writing to each other?
No, if you wrote a letter, at my rank, which
Uh-huh.
was staff sergeant, it had to be censored.
Okay.
And I don't know, I just shied away from writing letters.
Did you get letters from her?
No,
No?
no.
Okay.
I told you the dates, it was awfully short.
Well,
What else do you want?
well, I mean, you were telling the Simpson story, so I wanted to let you finish. So there's several things I
Okay.
could be asking.
Okay,
so-
well, anyway, I ended up going to a convalescent hospital,
Uh-huh,
and it was called Plattsburgh Barracks, Plattsburgh, New York.
uh-huh.
That was a National Guard facility that the Army took over, or the Air Force. I was in the Army, not the Air Force
Right,
at
you're in
that
the
time.
Army Air Corps,
Army
right.
Air Corps. And that was used as a convalescent hospital.
Uh-huh,
And there I, ate very well, slept
very
well. There was a girls' college in town, and we had recreation at night,
Uh-huh.
dances and so forth.
So how long were you there?
Oh, probably 2 months.
2 months? And then you were discharged at that
I-
point?
Yes, and I left there with a discharge in the month of July
45?
45.
Okay. So they discharged you after VE Day, but before VJ Day?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
And what did you do after that? You said your future wife had come down to visit you?
We didn't get married then, but we eventually did.
Okay.
Yes, I went to work, which was not truly work,
Uh-huh.
repairing clocks.
Okay.
I had a friend who lived with his uncle, who was a clock
Clock.
repairman, and a jeweler, and an optician.
Uh-huh.
So I spent a year in his business.
Apprenticing to learn how to make clocks. huh?
Well, yeah, being paid
But
under the table without taxes.
Ah, okay.
Okay, not much money, but wages were low then.
Uh-huh.
Okay? Now, during that period, I drew, that we used to have what we call a 5220 club.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
$20 a week for 52 weeks,
Okay.
being unemployed and just out of the military.
Okay.
And no matter where you went, people would say, gee, you ought to draw that money.
Uh-huh.
Well, that got kind of scary when more men came out of the military.
Yes.
That got to be expensive,
Uh-huh.
okay? Well, I drew all 52
Yes.
during that period. But at the end of that period, I started college at Clarkson University,
Uh-huh.
majoring in electrical engineering. Now, and I got married just before then.
Okay.
So we got a letter from Uncle Sam somehow, and it said that I drew the $20 on the 5220
Yeah.
1 week too long
Too
because
long.
it overlapped with the GI Bill.
So you had to give $20 back
or go to
or
jail.
go to jail?
No, I gave them the money back happily,
Sure. Now, so you said, so you went to college on the GI Bill?
yeah.
Okay.
Got an electrical engineering degree
Uh-huh.
and went from there.
Okay.
So here I am in Florida. Well, I now live in Florida.
Now you live in Florida? Okay.
And,
you-
and I think you've heard all of my story.
Okay, well, going backwards, okay, so you said you flew 14 missions?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah,
And you never had to fire, you never got jumped by fighters or anything?
that's true.
Okay,
That's true.
okay.
Isn't that nice?
It sounds pretty nice, except the flak, I take it.
There was flak on every mission.
Flak on every
And the
mission.
airplane came back with holes every mission,
Every mission, okay.
many holes.
And after you got injured and removed, do you still maintain contact with your other crew members?
Well, one of them.
One of them.
You know, some people die.
Well, no, I understand that, but I mean, I assume most of your other crew members came back from their
They all
tours?
came back.
They all came back, okay.
They all came back, and I think they all came back together, and they returned a B-24 to the States.
Really? Okay.
So they came back in at 24.
And did they all drop by to see you, or did they know what had happened to you?
I don't remember that.
Did you make it, I mean,
We kept in
take
contact.
good contact? Okay. Okay. So you flew 14 missions, one of which was this night mission to Salisbury.
Yeah.
Were there, other than the flak, was there anything memorable about any of the other missions you went on that you remember?
Well, some airplanes, you know, got destroyed that were within our squadron.
Right.
And the thing was, you watch them and count the parachutes.
That must have been a rather, I'm trying to think of the word to describe it. I'm sure I don't know the word.
Count the parachutes so that you can report so many got out of the airplane.
So how many planes did you see
That happened
lost?
to?
Yes.
Gee, I don't remember.
I mean, okay.
Probably 5.
5 or 6, yeah, 5. So if you went on 14 missions and you saw, say, 5 planes, that basically every third mission a plane went down.
Oh, and you know, and ours was just as vulnerable. We were all together.
Right.
You know, it's a tight formation.
Sure.
And the reason it's a tight formation is that you put all your guns in one tight formation.
To protect.
It's a better defense than being spread out
Right. Well,
if we were attacked by an airplane.
I was going to say, did at any point in time did somebody say, well, there's no reason to fly tight because there's no fighters?
No.
No, you flew tight.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the discipline.
That was the discipline. Okay. Did you get to know a lot of the other crew members? I mean, the other crews?
Not personally very well, no.
Did you fly all the missions with that one crew?
Just that one crew.
Okay. And did that crew fly that night mission also?
Yeah.
Yes? Did the crew volunteer for that mission, or were you just told you're going to fly this mission?
Well, Roy Haddam's wife was pregnant and due with a baby, and he wanted to get home.
Oh, he wanted to get home. I see.
So we're going to do this as fast as we can. And it was an opportunity for him to volunteer his crew.
I see. So you didn't take a vote. He just volunteered you. Said, we're going, huh?
I'm sure we could have individually refused,
Well,
and they'd have picked up somebody else.
but you flew as a group.
Yeah.
So there seemed to be a lot of camaraderie among the crew.
Well, that's part of the psych in the training.
Okay, well, obviously it worked in your case. Did you get along, did all the crew get along with each other?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So going back, you went through aerial gunning training kind of by yourself, and then they formed a crew after that.
Yes.
And that's when did Haddam assign your positions, or did you already
No.
know you were gonna?
Well, he might have had something to do with it. I was physically the smallest person in the 10 men.
So he said, Andre, you're in the ball?
No, he didn't.
Did you
He
volunteer?
said, well, sort of,
Sort of?
half and half.
Okay. Now the plane you ferried over, did you name it, the plane?
No, and we didn't see it again after we got there,
Never saw it again, okay.
no,
Did it stay in the 376 or do you even?
Don't know.
You don't know?
don't know. Well, I imagine so, because that's the only outfit that was there,
Okay,
flying B-24. But it went to a base in Italy. Goya was the name of the town.
uh-huh,
And there, the airplane was to be modified a little. For instance, it had upholstery.
it had a what?
Upholstery.
Oh, upholstery.
Well, you got to get rid of that. That stuff helps fires.
What kind of upholstery did it have? I've never heard of a B-24 with upholstery.
Gray fabric.
Okay. Was it like on the seats or in the,
No,
on the
no.
walls or what?
On the walls.
On the walls?
Yeah.
Is that something Ford did?
I'm sure that they all must have done it. You know, you build to print in those days,
Okay.
I would think. Yes.
Wow, I had
And
not heard that before.
another thing, they disabled as I recall, they disabled the icebreaker. You know, in the leading edge of the B-24, it has a black rubber material.
Uh-huh,
May not have been rubber, but I think it was similar to rubber.
yes,
And that was a de-icer.
right.
It would expand and break the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they disabled those because it was a fire hazard.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if it was the ice-breaking liquid that was in there or just that rubber-looking material on the wing. But because of a fire hazard, they disabled them. So they modified the airplanes before they were put into a mission.
So you brought the airplane over, then somebody ferried, did you guys ferry it up to Goya or somebody else?
We brought it to Goya
You brought it to Goya
and then left it.
and left it and
Then we were put into an open flatbed truck and went to a base called Sanpan.
Sanpan?
Yes,
So, and you never saw that plane again?
no.
Okay.
And we were never assigned an airplane that's your airplane.
It was just whatever airplane, you were assigned an airplane, you went out to it?
Yeah.
So did you ever fly the same plane twice or
Yeah,
did they fly different or did you decide I like that plane better than I like that plane?
not me.
Not you? Did Haddam ever decide you
No,
liked?
I've never heard it mentioned.
Okay. Did you,
There was one old airplane there that was called Boomerang, and the group was very happy to boast that it had almost 100 missions,
it was number 67 if I remember right, yes.
perhaps,
Yes, it had flown a lot of missions,
called Boomerang.
right.
And they, I don't know if it did what they wanted it to do, but it was supposed to come to the States and help sell, travel around.
War bonds.
Help sell war bonds,
Yes. Now, did you guys ever fly Boomerang?
yes,
You did? Okay.
yes,
And did it fly any different than any others?
no,
Did you feel like you were kind of protected because
No.
it had
no,
never been shot down or
no,
anything?
no.
You were just as vulnerable as any other airplane, huh?
Yeah, on the outside of the airplane, it was painted black.
It was painted
flat-
black.
Flat black, and that was the only difference. The others were silver.
That is, did you take that airplane on that night mission?
No,
No? Was that plane painted black?
no,
No, it was just a regular B-24.
yep.
So, what time of day did you take off on that night mission? Did you take off like in the afternoon or
Oh,
something?
hell, I don't remember. It must have been, because it had to be
Sure.
dark, and our protection was the clouds, even though we didn't find any.
What time would you say you dropped your bombs? Were you over the target? About midnight?
Yeah,
Okay.
with screamers.
With what? Oh, with screamers. Did you hear the bomb screaming as they
No.
went down?
No,
No?
no. And it had incendiary
Yes.
bombs.
Did you see the result of your bomb drop?
No.
No?
Well, I saw the bomb drop, but didn't see the results of it. you move along.
Okay,
But I, in the ball turret, was always able to look up into the bomb bay and follow the bombs.
okay.
And the bombardier didn't like that
He didn't like that? Why is that?
because he'd miss his target.
Did you get on the radio and say, well, Bombardier, you missed another one?
No, I wasn't that way.
I would imagine he didn't like editorial comments. Interesting. Okay. I guess I ran out of things to add. It's very interesting stories, especially the night mission and stuff. So, do you have anything else you'd like to add, or
No.
no? Okay. Who's sitting over in the corner?
He's my protector.
He's your protector?
That's my son,
He's your
David.
son. Okay.
I have 4 children, 3 girls, and this great guy.
Okay. I've seen him at other reunions. Did he ask you, when he was growing up, did he ask you about your exploits? My father never told me anything. That's why I'm asking.
I don't think we discussed very much, David.
I did not really know much of anything other than he served, that he was, severely wounded, and it wasn't until he got involved in these bomb groups that I actually came to really understand. And there were 2 things that really interested me was how cold it was, like minus 40, minus 50 degrees in the air.
Uh-huh.
And to lose, like with him, to lose the heat in the suit, to freeze, And then how his pilot, when he came to the States, I think, that the wife met you in New York, your pilot's wife, right?
Yes,
Adam's what?
Notified her,
yes,
met you in New York, and that impressed me that
Yeah,
at
she-
that time, to be able to communicate back and say, hey, come meet my crewman, he's coming back from New York.
So Roy had him arranged for his wife to come? Had she already had the baby that Roy was trying to get back to see?
I don't recall. I don't think so at that time.
Okay. Well, that was pretty nice of him to ask his wife to come see you. Did you maintain a relationship with Haddam after the war?
Yes,
Okay. Is he still alive?
no,
No? Do you still contact him or his children or his wife?
No,
or-
no. no. He had a second wife because that first one had died,
Oh, okay.
and it was the first one that I met in New York.
Uh-huh.
But and I think the second wife is still living.
Okay. But you don't maintain contact with
No, we did for a few years. See, my wife died in January 1986,
Uh-huh.
not 2006.
2006, okay. Last year.
She died, and I have not contacted this other lady since then.
Okay. Is Haddam the only one of your crew that you maintain any sort of contact with?
No. No.
So you maintain kind of with the others of your crew?
Yeah, there's one other started me going to these meetings
Oh,
way back.
and who was that? Who?
Is his name Mackenzie?
Yeah,
Mackenzie?
yeah, Mackenzie. He always comes to these and did not come this time because he recently had a hip transplant
Uh-huh.
and he didn't want to make this trip.
Oh, okay.
He lives in Minneapolis.
Okay.
We visited him in Minneapolis.
Oh, before you came down here?
No, years.
Oh, years, okay.
And we visited Haddam and his wife near Sarasota where they were living.
Uh-huh.
And there's another fellow, Roy Birnbaum, and he lives in West Palm. So Birnbaum, McKenzie's, Haddams, and the Duvals all went to Church Street Station when it was going on good in Orlando,
Uh-huh.
and we had a fun evening.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're turned off, are you not?
Not yet.
No, he's still rolling, I think.
Not until he tells me to stop.
We have a few more minutes, so, but it sounds like we're, so I think that's the end. Unless, like I said, unless there's anything else you wanna add.
No.
Going back a little bit, I'll fill in some of the spirit. You were what, 18 when you enlisted? Is that right?
Yeah.
Were you right out of high school then?
Yeah.
So you went out of high school and then enlisted, or I guess you were drafted?
I got a letter from Harry S. Truman.
Harry S. Truman saying?
Said, report, buddy.
Report? Okay. So you went right out of high school and into the service. Okay. And the rest, as they say, is history, so to speak. Did you have any brothers that served?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I had a brother that served, but his service was after the war.
Oh, after the war.
He was younger. Yes.
Okay.
And he had interesting duty. He was an Air Force, and he was involved in maintaining air-to-ground targets at Nellis Air Force Base, which is just outside of Las Vegas,
Yeah.
and that was his duty.
Air-to-ground targets?
Well, the targets on the ground.
Ground, like tanks or whatever, buildings. Interesting. Okay. Did your parents write to you while you were overseas? Or in this?
Yeah, I received letters. I had a sister who would write, as well as my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother would always include a stick of gum,
Stick of gum, okay.
you know, in the envelope.
So that was your care package from home, huh? So you didn't send cookies or cakes or
No,
like they say in the movies, you see
no, no,
somebody gets a big
No.
cake from the family and,
no.
okay,
Had I asked for something like that, it would have happened, but
but you didn't,
no.
okay,
It really wasn't an opportune time.
okay,
No. We lived in six-man tents
oh, okay, yeah,
between olive trees.
between olive trees, okay.
And, yeah,
I heard that you called them IDs, is that how
I
you
don't know what
pronounce
that is.
it? I'm sorry?
I haven't heard that.
Oh, okay. Did the locals maintain the base at all?
No,
No?
no,
Okay.
no, but the locals, you know, they needed food.
Okay.
So some member of their family would be at our mess tent, and they'd hold like a canteen cup or
Uh-huh.
a can from something, and they'd beg for everything you would take out of the mess tent. Coffee, bread, eggs, meat,
Yeah.
put it all in this can, feed their family. Terrible, isn't it?
And I assume the guys
Yeah, it's
gave them
hard,
food.
hard to say no.
Well, right. Because I've seen pictures of workmen around the base. Maybe it was earlier on when the base was first being established, looked like making buildings or doing something. I mean,
Yeah,
they were all
well-
dressed up in work
Yeah.
outfit.
Yeah, there were workers there.
Okay.
And one airplane landed loaded with bombs and blew up right there in front of us.
It
You
was
know,
November of '44.
could be, could be,
I think I know the incident you're talking about.
could be. And there were Italian workers around, and they looked more happy than sad.
That the plane blew up?
Yeah.
Oh, you thought that they were sympathetic to the Germans or
Well-
Mussolini or whomever?
Sure,
Really?
sure.
I thought maybe you were going to tell me they got blown up when the
No,
plane landed.
no, no,
So did you think they were spies?
no, no, no.
No? But you thought they were happy when something bad happened?
They appeared to
They
be,
appeared to be happy when something bad happened to the Americans?
yes.
Okay. Did you ever go back to Italy?
No.
No, okay.
I did go back to Germany,
Oh, okay.
and it was interesting. I kind of looked around a lot, like at Innsbruck, Salzburg, Vienna,
Mhm.
where we dropped some bombs. I couldn't see any evidence of it.
Did you ever go back to Brenner Pass?
No.
Where you got injured?
No, no,
No?
no. But I was surprised I couldn't see any evidence of it.
Well, I've heard of people who've gone back and we leveled the town and the town's been rebuilt and basically no evidence that anything ever happened.
Well, Uncle Sam helped him with the Marshall Plan,
Well, that's true. So, okay,
and I'm afraid we're going to do that in Kuwait.
and Iraq. Well,
Yes, in Iraq.
that's possible, I guess. That's what we like to do, blow them up and then
It's going to happen.
build them back up. So, okay. Well, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for your